the sinister story of Ethan Cole. Ethan Cole looked like the man who had everything. A devoted wife, 2 little girls who adored him, a spacious new home in a quiet suburban community. Neighbors waved as he mowed the lawn. Friends saw him as the easygoing father who played with his kids on weekends. On social media, their family photos glowed with happiness. But perfection can hide secrets. Behind closed doors, Ethan Cole wasn't the man everyone believed he was. He was living a double life. And one warm summer morning, that secret life would explode into tragedy. Maya Cole loved her family fiercely. She shared everything online: birthday parties, family trips, even quiet moments of her daughters, Lily and Ava, cuddled on the couch. But behind her smile, Maya was uneasy. Ethan had grown distant, detached. The warmth that once defined their marriage was gone. Her friends noticed too. Maya confided in them. "He barely looks at me anymore. I think there's someone else." She wasn't wrong. Ethan was having an affair. He was weaving lies to cover his tracks. And the more tangled his web became, the more dangerous his secrets grew. On August 10th, Maya returned home late from a business trip. She pulled into the driveway at 2 a.m., exhausted but relieved to be home. By morning, Maya and her girls had vanished. A close friend, worried after texts went unanswered, called the police. When officers arrived, they found Maya's car still in the garage. Her purse, her phone, even her medication was untouched. But Maya, Lily, and Ava? Gone. And Ethan? He stood outside, strangely calm, telling officers he had no idea what happened. The disappearance became headline news within hours. Ethan went on television, begging for their return. "Maya, if you're out there, bring the kids home. We miss you so much." His words sounded right, but his eyes told another story. Investigators could see it too. At first, detectives treated Ethan as a grieving husband. But as they pressed him for details, his mask began to slip. Simple questions turned into contradictions. His timeline didn't add up. His body language screamed discomfort. Then came the polygraph. Ethan, confident in his charm, agreed. He thought he could beat it. But when the test ended, the examiner leaned forward and whispered words that cut through his facade. "Ethan, you failed." That was the breaking point. The man who stood smiling on TV, begging for his family's return, could no longer keep his story straight. First, he tried to blame Maya. He claimed she had hurt the children, and in a moment of rage, he had hurt her. But detectives weren't buying it. So Ethan confessed. He admitted to strangling Maya in their bedroom. And when Lily and Ava saw what happened, crying out for their mother, he silenced them too. He placed their bodies in his truck, drove to a remote construction site where he worked, and left them there, buried in shallow ground and hidden in crude containers. Maya, pregnant with their unborn son. Lily, just 5 years old. Ava, only 3. All gone. Because Ethan Cole wanted a new life. A clean slate with his mistress. And for that, he destroyed his own family. The confession shattered the illusion of the perfect husband. Ethan Cole was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 1 for his unborn child, and multiple charges for tampering with evidence. In a packed courtroom, he pled guilty to avoid the death penalty. His sentence: life in prison without the possibility of parole. Maya's family wept as the verdict was read. Justice was served, but the cost was unimaginable. The world looked at Ethan and asked the question no one could answer. How could a man who appeared so ordinary turn into something so sinister? It wasn't just murder. It was betrayal of the deepest kind, the ultimate act of selfishness. But the story doesn't end here, because even locked away, Ethan Cole hasn't disappeared. Letters arrive in his prison cell, some filled with anger, some filled with sympathy, and disturbingly, some filled with love. Strangers who write to him, women who believe he's misunderstood, who think they can save him. The man who murdered his family has become an object of fascination. And that's where the story takes a chilling turn. Because if Ethan Cole can still capture hearts from behind prison walls, what does that say about us? Ethan Cole thought he could charm his way through anything. For years, he convinced neighbors he was the perfect husband. For years, he convinced Maya that their family was safe. For years, he convinced himself that his double life would never unravel. But when his lies caught up with him, when his crimes were revealed, Ethan was stripped of everything. No more house in the suburbs. No more smiling photos of family dinners. No more illusion of perfection. Instead, he was given a prison jumpsuit, a number, and a life sentence. But here's the part that no one saw coming. Ethan may have lost his freedom, but he didn't lose his influence. Within weeks of his sentencing, prison guards noticed something strange. Letters. First just a few, then dozens, then hundreds. They came from all over the country. Some written in shaky handwriting, others in neat cursive, decorated with hearts. And the words inside? They weren't words of hate. They were words of admiration. I believe you're innocent. You don't deserve this. I can save you. Women, strangers who had never met Ethan, began confessing their love. Some sent photos. Some sent money. Some even offered marriage proposals. To the outside world, Ethan Cole was a murderer. But to these women, he was something else. A misunderstood man. A broken soul in need of healing. A puzzle they believed only they could fix. Psychologists have a name for it. Biastophiliac, an attraction to those who commit violent crimes. But in Ethan's case, it wasn't just attraction. It was obsession. And Ethan? He knew exactly how to use it. From his prison cell, Ethan began replying. At first, small notes of gratitude. Thank you for your kindness. I appreciate your support. But slowly, his words grew bolder. You understand me better than anyone. You're the only person I can trust. I feel something for you. He crafted the same lies he once told Maya. Only now, he was telling them to women he had never met. And disturbingly, it worked. Some of these women drained their savings, sending money to Ethan's commissary account. Others traveled across states just to visit him. To them, he wasn't the man who strangled his wife and silenced his children. He was the man who smiled on TV, the man who spoke softly, the man who, in their minds, could never be capable of such evil. But investigators knew better. They watched as Ethan built a new web of manipulation, one that stretched beyond the prison walls. Even in chains, Ethan Cole was still pulling strings. But then, something changed. One of the women who had written to Ethan, a woman who truly believed his lies, began to see the cracks. During a prison visit, she asked him a simple question. Do you ever think about your daughters? For the first time, Ethan didn't have an answer. His mask slipped. The appeal of Ethan Cole wasn't just about law. It was about memory. It was about manipulation. It was about the way evil can disguise itself, not just in life, but even in the cold process of justice. Because while the courts debated legal terms, Maya's family was left to relive their nightmare. And the chilling truth? Even if Ethan never steps outside those prison walls, he has already won in one way. He has kept his story alive. He has kept himself in the headlines. He has forced the world to keep saying his name. And for a man like Ethan Cole, that might be power enough. 9. But whispers don't end in the courtroom. Because the calendar doesn't stop. And one day, sooner than anyone expected, Ethan Cole may face a parole board. He may be given the chance to plead for freedom. And if that day comes, the question isn't just whether he'll be released. The question is, what happens if he is? It's the one thing prison has in abundance. For Ethan Cole, every second ticked toward something bigger. Something terrifying. After years of silence, years of legal appeals, years of playing the model inmate, Ethan was finally eligible for a hearing. The newspapers had called him the family annihilator. Documentaries branded him the wolf in sheep's clothing. But in the prison yard, he was simply Ethan. Quiet, polite, always reading, always listening. And for the parole board, that was the problem. Because in a world where rehabilitation is celebrated, Ethan Cole looked on paper like a success story. But outside those concrete walls, the world hadn't forgotten. Maya's family still lived with scars. The town still whispered his name. and strangers online debated endlessly whether he deserved a second chance. Should a man who destroyed his family ever walk free? That was the question. And soon, it would demand an answer. The parole hearing was set for a rainy Tuesday morning. Security was tight. Cameras weren't allowed inside. But what happened behind those closed doors would echo everywhere. Ethan sat at the table in a crisp prison-issued shirt. His hair was neatly trimmed. His voice calm. When asked why he thought he deserved parole, he spoke softly, almost humbly. "I've had time to reflect," he said. "I regret every choice I made. If I could change the past, I would. I want to be a better man, to contribute to society again." The words were flawless. But to Maya's family, they were poison. Her mother sat just feet away, trembling. When given her turn, she stood and faced Ethan with shaking hands. "You didn't just take their lives," she whispered. "You took ours too. Every day since then has been a sentence we didn't choose." The room fell silent. And still, Ethan didn't look at her. His eyes stayed fixed on the board. The board asked about his past lies, about the manipulations, about the calculated way he had deceived everyone. Ethan's answers were measured, almost too measured. Some said he sounded reformed. Others said he sounded rehearsed. And for those watching from the outside, that was the most frightening part. Because with Ethan Cole, it was impossible to tell the difference. After hours of testimony, the board retreated. The decision could take weeks, but it didn't. Just 3 days later, it was announced. Ethan Cole's parole was denied. The courtroom erupted with sighs of relief. Maya's family wept. Justice, it seemed, had prevailed again. But buried deep in the ruling was something chilling. The denial wasn't permanent. In 5 years, Ethan Cole could apply again. The reaction was immediate. Some called it closure. Others called it a ticking time bomb. Because 5 years wasn't forever. And Ethan wasn't done. Behind prison walls, he began writing again. Letters, journals, notes to followers who believed in him. And each time, the same theme appeared. This isn't over. And here's where the story turns. Because parole isn't just about one man. It's about society. It's about forgiveness. It's about the justice system itself. For Ethan's supporters, his denial became proof of bias. They said he was being punished twice. They said he had served long enough. For Maya's family, it was never enough. Because no sentence, no prison cell could ever bring her back. And that divide between sympathy and justice grew sharper with each year. The case of Ethan Cole became more than a crime story. It became a debate about what it means to truly pay for evil. In the end, Ethan Cole's story isn't about freedom. It's about deception. About the faces evil wears. About the scars it leaves behind. Not just on victims, but on everyone who dares to believe. Because even locked behind bars, Ethan managed to hold power. He kept his name alive. He forced the world to watch. He proved that sometimes the shadow of a crime can be just as dangerous as the crime itself. And the haunting irony? If Ethan Cole is ever released, he won't walk into freedom. He'll walk into a world that remembers exactly who he is. And so the question remains. If the day comes when Ethan Cole steps outside those prison walls, will justice finally be complete? Or will the nightmare begin again? Follow our channel, hit the notification button, and subscribe to our channel for chilling crime cases.